Hey, this is Joe at Wordcrafters, and I have Erick Mertz here with me to talk a bit about what he does as a writer and how he will be helping us out at Wordcrafters with some of our shenanigans that we have coming up. Thanks for being here, Erick.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So I was hoping that we could start off just by getting a bit of information about you, where you're situated, what kind of writing you do, and what you're going to be doing with Wordcrafters.
Absolutely. So I'm a native Oregonian. I'm from Oregon City, where I live now. Currently, I work as a ghostwriter. That's my profession. I ghostwrite books, screenplays, kind of whatever my clients need. That's one half of my professional hat, and the other hat that I wear is I'm an author. I write two paranormal mystery series, and one based in Oregon called The Strange Air, and another one that I've just recently launched. That's kind of a bit more of a period piece. It's a kind of a time traveling ghost saga called the Black Spring Saga.
So you so you fully embrace puns as a writer,
Absolutely.
being a writer both of um ghost,
Ghost.
ghosty
Yeah.
things and also literally a ghost writer. That's very
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. It works for me. There's a synchronicity there I strive for.
That's lovely. And so with Wordcrafters, you are our spirit guide for the 2024 Ghost Story Weekend, which is happening
I
this
am
October at
very
Mackenzie
excited.
River. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what is it about like the spooky stories that you like? Why do you like writing them? Why should other people write them?
That's a great question. I ask myself that all the time. Like, why do I feel so compelled to both be scared and try to create fright for other people? I don't know. For me personally, like it started when I was really young. I just love the feeling of being afraid. I like the part of your brain that just like kind of forgets logic and says, "Hey, this is a little spooky." And I love the little chill you get in on the flesh when you read something that's spooky. And it's always been there for me. It's just always been. I like the when a story can take you out of your logical brain and kind of put you into that place. I think they're fun to write and important to write because I think understanding what scares us, what gives us pause is important as people. I think there's a lot to learn about ourselves through what scares us. So maybe that's a little more the deeper answer there.
I hadn't thought about it that way. That it's almost like a learning about yourself as a human, or maybe working through some of those things that it's like, oh, what scares me and why? What's scary about that?
Yeah,
And
it's
then
like a
I
little
suppose,
Rorschach test you can do for yourself.
yeah, and then how do I scare other people?
Right. Yeah. Well, then you're just figuring out like, well, if what scares me, maybe it'll scare someone else. So,
Hmm.
but I think that to think of it as scaring someone's a little. I think of it as just something that like sort of unsettles your like we're all very rational. I think most of us have like a pretty rational grasp of what's happening around us, but I think when a story can take you out of that rational sense and arrest that and change, unsettle that for a moment, that's a pretty high standard. That's a pretty an amazing accomplishment as a writer. So
Yeah, it's true because ghost stories or it's not necessarily about scare or fear or the thriller necessarily, though it can be, but
right,
it is, yeah, they do seem kind of that more encompassing is that taking you out of the regular world, the everyday world, the predictable world where you got to
right.
figure out what's going on. Either as I suppose as the writer, you're always trying to figure out what's going on, but as the reader, you're like, what is, something is not, all is not as it seems, perhaps, or
Yeah, and that's this feeling of suspended disbelief. Like again, I'm reading. I know that I'm reading. I know that I'm safe in my comfy reading chair, but that feeling of being unsettled is to me it's just a great feeling. It's a feeling of being alive, to be truthful.
I describe my tastes when I'm ordering food as you need to make it the spice level as if for an English baby, and my scary level is not quite as little as that, but it's not too big. There are still books I've read and movies I've seen, and even Michael Jackson's Thriller music video when his eyes changed that I saw
Right.
when I was a little kid. It's still, that fear is still in me. It
Yeah.
has not
Yeah.
left me.
Yeah. I love that feeling. And anything that does that to me becomes kind of personal canon. Like that's stuff that I go back to and reread again and again or watch again and again because it just
That's so
works.
funny. So, how would you encourage other writers who maybe they're not quite as scaredy cat as I am, but
Spicier than an English baby, you mean?
that they can go spicier than for an English baby, but are willing, or even if they are, even if they are a little spice and spooky writing afraid, to who are curious though, because you can not necessarily have tasted a certain food or cuisine
Right.
and be like, oh, I'm curious about that. The same thing with writing. So how would you encourage them to like maybe tiptoe out of their little safe comfort zone and come join us for a fun spooky weekend in the woods?
I would encourage someone to come out and sort of creep out of their shell a little bit. For the simple reason that you may find that like there's a part of yourself to learn about through what scares you or what you might scare, what might scare someone else. And I think it's a really fun way to be vulnerable with your writing. I think that when you learn, not and maybe not to let's not think of it as exclusively as scaring. Like let's think of it as like unsettling someone's sense of unsettling someone. I think you can really like you can learn a lot about yourself, and you can learn a lot about all kinds of audience like and reader like how to affect readers that way. I mean, you might come into this not learning how to write a ghost story, and those skills you can apply to writing romance, like you're or writing science fiction or writing fantasy. I think there's something about learning the art of unsettling the reader and unsettling yourself that uh, you can take into any genre you write. You can take it into anything because I think that is what the memorable moments in story are about. It's the moment when you are unexpectedly taken out of your, place in the audience, and suddenly you're in the story with the characters.
That's true. Plus, because it is Wordcrafters, we will have lots of emotional support chocolate. So
Lots of it. I heard.
you'll be all right. Everybody will be all right.
Yeah.
So, as part of Ghost Story Weekend, folks get to have a little one-on-one session with you, sign up for a one-on-one session with you,
Right.
and which can encompass kind of anything that they are needing at that moment in time for their writing. It can be their writing in general. It can be, I suppose, the story that they're working on. It's often the story. So what's going on with the story? How do they finish the story? That
Right.
kind of thing. Um, how would you describe like your approach when working with other writers in that kind of way?
I really like to talk to people about what is it about this story, this character, this moment, not necessarily what gets you stuck or what brings you to me at, asking for support. It's more like what gets you excited, what got you excited about it. What was it about this story that you decided to commit to telling it? Because there is, like I said, I think a story is a leap of faith. Telling a story, um, you're really jumping off the deep end as a writer, wanting to introduce someone to this world, the world that exists at that moment only in your imagination. So I really like to just get oriented with what gets you excited about this, what really makes you motivated, like what can we what out of that motivation can we use to move the story forward.
It's cool.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, because like I said, I'm self-confessed English baby, spice levels of ghost stories.
Right.
Um, what I don't know a lot about ghost stories, honestly, or like what kind of encompasses that whole spooky-ish genre. Could you just talk a little bit about that? About like, because I know, in all kinds of writing, things are classified. They got all the words that classify things in various different ways. And so what kind of does this encompass in terms of stories?
Like, what makes a ghost story a ghost story?
Yeah, I mean, because there's like super scary, thriller stuff with lots of gore and
Right.
the people always the tropes of let's split up or cover more ground,
Right,
and
right.
you never split the party. I know that much.
Never split the party.
um and to just on the other end, probably just something that's just like a little spooky, or we're talking to some
Right,
dead people who are very nice. I don't know.
right, right. Room for one more kind of story. I think that fundamental ghost stories are broad, right? I mean, there's broadly defined. They're everything from, they're everything from The Ring to Harlequin romances, right? The ghost stories find their way into everything. But I think that what a ghost story makes a ghost story and also makes it appealing is that idea of haunted space, right? About something, there is something in a ghost story that is hanging on beyond the realm of the real. And that to me is a very inviting prospect. A haunted house, a spirit that's restless, a haunted thing, um, even like a haunted idea. I don't know. You could really go a lot of places with it. Um, and I think what underlies all of that is this need to stick around. A ghost is a spirit that can't leave. A house that can't change. I guess that can't settle. Like, I think there's something really appealing about that. It's kind of like a love story if you really think about it, right? Like, the spirit that won't leave, it's unfinished business, it can't let go.
Yeah, that's interesting way to kind of look at it, like you said, fundamentally, like what's going on
Right.
with that kind
Yeah.
of thing. That's cool. Well, thank you. So I know you as a writer friend
Right.
through the years, and I kind of I know you as you like as a human, and your sensibilities and everything, but you're actually quite a lot of fun. And
Thank you.
like no, you are. You are a good conversationalist, and very an engaging teacher, and you bring a lot of yourself
Oh,
to what you
appreciate it.
do. And we're not all like serious discussions about the fundamental
Right.
nature of ghost stories all
Right.
the time, which is also a good time for me. See, I got my word nerd shirt on, so clearly something is going on there. I have no idea how to ask somebody like, what makes you a fun person? How do you like to have a good time?
What makes me fun?
Yeah,
I think what makes me fun is that, like, I have, like, I don't know, I guess I've always just kind of felt, and again, like, I may be off on this, but I feel like I don't have any like fear for like absurdity or like a laugh. Like, I feel like I'm up for whatever. I feel like I can just put myself in anything and have a good time. I'm the guy
yeah,
that's making a joke while you're waiting for a bus at 3 in the morning to get on an airplane. Like, I'm having trying to make everything fun. So
that's good.
yeah.
Yeah, lack of fear of being seen as absurd
Well,
is
anybody
good.
who was in Pitches Against Humanity with me, like, I can make that trust fall with humor pretty from a pretty high from a pretty high post. So
Yeah,
I don't mind. And I like joking at my own expense too. It's kind of, I'll take that.
yeah. So is there anything that you can think of right at this moment on the spot, either about yourself or about what folks can look forward to at Ghost Story Weekend, that you'd like them to know?
Well, I think I've said it in the Q&A, and I put a lot of thought into that. I feel like what we'll do is learn together. I feel like what we'll do is explore the process of writing every story uniquely. I don't bring anything pre-made into something like this. I feel like again, like every consultation, every conversation, every story is its own set of challenges. It possesses its own potential and excitement. And so I try not to bring a box. I try to just be open-minded about all of it. And I'm really looking forward to what I come out of the whole process learning from people. I feel like I'm going to learn as much from all of you as you'll learn from me. So,
Yeah. Thank you. I find that too often with teaching, that I just, I happen to be the person sitting there in like the big chair, but
right.
everybody else seems to, know so much already. And it's just sometimes it's drawing that out of people a bit to help them recognize what they already know.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
nobody likes learning from like the introduction must contain these elements, and every one of these elements needs to exist in the first 3 pages. That none of that feels very good. Suddenly, you've bound your story into somebody else's rubric, and that's not. I don't know. I don't think that's the way it works. I think every story that you love reading or writing takes chances that and breaks a rule here and there. So let's talk about breaking the rules.
sounds like fun. Yeah, so thanks for spending time with us today, and we will see you in October.
Absolutely.